Hey everyone, it's Houston, the Meandering Piper. Hope everybody's enjoying their day. And if you notice, this is the second time I'm on again today. I'm on a roll with all these multiple videos in one day here lately. Well, that's alright, I'm on vacation, so. If you caught the last video, I'm still working on the Bold Kentucky and the Country Gentleman second. I don't have my other Country Gentleman out, but if you have a look here, it's a little bit bigger, than a regular Country Gentleman. I like it. It usually sits right here by my chair. Just a moment. Having some technical difficulties. Alright. There we go. Guess we had it packed a little too tight. It didn't want to burn there. So. But anyway, this video is going to be a VR for Smokin Fireman's GAW. I want to say he's up over 225 subs, so congratulations. So, let's get this show on the road, shall we? First question, it's a really easy one, but yet I had to think on it for a few days. Actually, start going back through the files here a bit. But you wanted to know what our favorite childhood memory was. And like I said, I had to think back on it. I mean, there was a lot of good memories in there that I could have picked, and some not so great, but some really good ones there as well. And after thinking about it for a bit, I have to go back to about whenever I was 10 or 11. Anyway, my grandma and grandpa had I think it was a 91, I don't know, Chrysler LeBaron convertible. And that was like their little toy. They would take off in that thing, go off to Branson, go out to the Grand Canyon, down to Galveston, out to Florida, just whenever they felt like it, pretty much. That was, the vehicle they took. And aside from my grandpa's old truck, that was one of the vehicles I learned how to drive in. Now, I live in a very rural area, farm community. So we got a lot of, back roads out this way. Dirt, paved, I mean, all different types. Anyway, my grandfather would take me and my cousins, and we'd get in that little car and we'd run the backwoods. We'd go up, out, and through the Indian reservation there, and then loop back around and end up back in town here. Well, one day, when we're over at our grandpa's and grandma's, it's me and one other of my cousins. And my grandpa asked if we want to, go and hit the back roads. Drive the LeBaron. And we're both like, yeah, let's go. That was one of our favorite things to do, when we were at Grandpa's house. So, anyway, we get in the car, get everything all adjusted. We get up there and take off. We get out on the street, go down, hit the back road, start our way out that way. And we get about 3 miles down this dirt road, and my grandpa just kind of, says, "Hey, you know what? I want a lottery ticket. Let's go get a lottery ticket." And of course, 10, 11 years old, I didn't know what a lottery ticket was. I just knew, that's what my grandpa wanted. Well, back then, Oklahoma didn't have the lottery. So you either had to go all the way down to Texas or, up in the Missouri or, wherever to get it. So that's what we did. My grandpa, said, well, okay, we'll take this road here. And he let me drive all the way up to Missouri, whenever I was like 10, 11 years old, the whole way up there. And we get there, get to the gas station and everything. And me and my cousin switched seats. My cousin drove all the way back, from Missouri. And back then, nobody thought nothing of it. We passed a couple of the sheriffs and they just waved. They knew exactly what was going on, but they didn't care. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be able to do anything like that with my children nowadays, but, back then, it was all good. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite childhood memories. I have to say that probably is my most favorite childhood memory, is going and doing stuff like that with my grandfather. And even to this day, he, still pulls stuff like that. He'll show up at the house. Y'all want to go up to Branson? Y'all want to take off and go see this concert, with me? I mean, he hasn't changed a bit in all these years, so. And the second question you wanted to know is what started us smoking pipes? Well, I gotta say it wasn't anybody in my family. I think I'm the first person in the family to smoke a pipe since like my great-great-grandfather or something like that. And the only reason I know that is through family history and some of the photos we have. He was long gone before I was born. So, and most of the folks in my family are pretty anti-smoking of any kind, whether it be pipes, cigars, cigarettes, whatever. Pretty much, a lot of anti-tobacco folks. But pipe smoking is one of those things, that's always kind of had a certain, I don't want to say mystique or, anything like that, but it always, kind of appealed to me. You'd always see the older gentlemen, smoking their pipes, and some of the great, minds back in the day, always smoked pipe, whether it be C.S. Lewis, Albert Einstein, Mark Twain. I mean, all those guys smoked pipes. I guess, I always kind of associated, pipe smoking with someone who was distinguished or highly intelligent or, just someone to look up to aspire to be. And another thing that really caught my interest, was different characters that smoked a pipe, whether it be Sherlock Holmes, different characters, like in The Lord of the Rings, even Popeye, the sailorman smoked a pipe, so. But it took me a while to get the hang of it. I've only really been, a dedicated pipe smoker for a year now, almost a year. We ain't even quite there yet, so. But I have been, smoking the pipe off and on for the last several years. But, my first, several experiences with smoking a pipe weren't too great. I didn't know what I was doing. This was before I found the YTPC. I didn't really have anybody to kind of mentor me on how to smoke a pipe, so it really turned out, it wasn't too pleasant of an experience for me. I'd always be burning my mouth, things like that, but I never really gave up on the pipe. I was using chewing tobacco and cigarettes whenever I was out over the road. But I'd always try to go back to a pipe, and, whenever I'd finally start, to get the hang of it, I wouldn't be able to get to a brick and mortar, or, I didn't know you could order tobacco online at this time, and being a truck driver over the road, it just was really inconvenient, to get pipe tobacco, whereas you could go into the truck stop and get a can of chew, or a pack of cigarettes, or a pouch of chaw, or whatever. So I kind of moved away from the pipe again. And then whenever I came back from off of the road and started driving local, I was still using the dip and the cigarettes, and occasionally, mainly chewing tobacco. And I was kind of kicking around the idea of going back to the pipe, and eventually I just told my wife, I was like, you know what, I'm done with all this other tobacco. I think I'm just gonna take the pipe back up again, and if I don't really care for it this time, I'm just gonna be done with tobacco altogether. But anyway, went down to the tobacconist, spent some time there talking with him. Told him I had a few pipes already. He hooked me up with a couple of more. But I mean, he really took the time to sit down with me, get to know me a little bit, talk, kind of figure out what I did like, what I didn't like, kind of what my taste in pipes were, what my taste in tobacco was, and yeah, it just went from there. And here I am, almost a year later, and I'm still with it. Now I still, frequent, my brick and mortar often. He's a great guy, and he always willing to impart his wisdom and take the time, to help you get your, get you set up and get you going. I mean, it's just really great. But anyway, that's kind of like a snapshot of my pipe smoking journey there. But I hope that's kind of, what you were looking for. But anyway, I was hoping to kind of keep this short, but, I got to talking, and, once I get going, sometimes I don't like to stop. So, but anyway, I'll leave it there. Again, congratulations on the subs. I'm sure you'll be at 500 before, excuse me, before too long. So, but anyway, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and back it on off here, and we will talk to y'all later.